Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Force for Growth Show. My name is Ricardo,
My name's Courtney.
and today we are going to talk about how are you showing up and
Yes,
why it matters.
how you show up for yourself and for others.
Ooh, what's more important, yourself or others?
First, how you show up for yourself, because that
Yeah,
affects every communication with every other person in your
correct,
life.
correct. So why does it matter? Why does it matter how you show up with yourself?
Because that's what you're priming yourself for, whether that's showing up for your day, showing up for an event, showing up for, consistently to keep a habit alive for a year until it's solid, so it's whatever you show up as has a lot of an impact on the outcome. And what I mean from that is like if you're going into work or a business opportunity, you want to be primed for to build rapport with people. You want to be primed for, confidence. So you're going to maybe have a pep talk with yourself where you remind yourself what you are confident on or get yourself in a state so you show up, this charged person ready for the opportunity. Or maybe it's in a relationship, do you listen? Do you, if you're in that more loving mode, you're going to hear your partner more, or you're, going to, how's your day? I don't know. You'll be more, your heart will be present in the conversation. Where if you just show up all, in your head, or you come home from work stressed out about your day, etc., you don't leave it at work. That's not a very great partner in you showing up for your spouse or for your kids, So how you walk into a situation, I would say, has just about everything to do with how it will turn out
Yeah,
for you. I know that's a bold statement.
I agree. I agree. It depends on how you show up the majority of the time. Let's see here. Jesse says, when you show up for yourself with love, compassion, understanding, and confidence, that is how you are able to show up to others.
Yes,
Wow.
that's
And
vital.
that's the show for today, everybody. Thank you so
Right?
much for joining us for the shortest episode of the Fourth for Girl Show.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's important how you show up the majority of the time because sometimes you're going to show up with less energy. Sometimes you're going to show up a little bit deflated, if you will. And sometimes you're going to show up with high energy. But if you're consistently showing up negatively, less present, distracted, whatever you say, that's how you're going to end up getting crappy results.
Yeah.
But everyone's going to have a crappy day.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have a crappy day. But you
We're
can always,
humans. It's
yeah,
going to happen.
you can always turn it around. So I think it's an unrealistic expectation to say that you have to show up a certain positive way every single moment of every single day of your life. I think that's an unrealistic expectation for yourself and for others
Yeah.
because we're going to show up with less energy at times. We're going to show up negative sometimes.
Hmm.
But it's really how you turn that around that matters.
Yeah. When you don't live there, it, maybe it'll take a few hours, maybe it'll take a few minutes, but hopefully not days to get you back on track, to get you back to where you're like, okay, deep breath. I'm showing up for me right now. Yeah, that just happened. Next, what did I learn from it? Or, you know,
Raise your hand and or comment below yes if you've ever had a day where you've lost your stuff
yep.
or a moment where you've lost your stuff. Yep. Comment below with a resounding yes if you've ever lost your stuff. And by stuff, I obviously mean.
Yep. And how do
Uh,
you turn, or I guess, so what can you tell us about turning that around? So let's say I showed up in a negative, but I want to turn that around. Is that doable?
of course, Courtney. Of course. You know, we got to go to state management because what
Yes.
we are 100% responsible for what?
The energy we bring to this space.
Correct. Our state. We're
Hmm.
100% responsible for our state. We're 100% responsible for the way that we show up. And owning it is the first step. That's what I think. You got to
Yeah.
own it. If you show up in a crappy, angry, disassociated, bad mood, own it
Hmm.
and then get over it. Don't live there. You don't want
Yeah.
to show up there. That's not your home, right? You don't want
Yeah.
to live there. You just gotta get over it. And I think the first thing you have to do is you gotta break that pattern. You gotta break that state. Because what happens when we do the same thing over and over and over again, we get the same exact results over
Yep.
and over and over again. So you
Yep.
gotta do something different. You gotta break that state. So go
Yes.
to your happy place, and whatever that happy place may be, getting out of the house, going out for a walk, going to the park, going to the lake, going to just feed your dogs or your pets or hanging out with your family and your children. All these things help because it takes you out of that space. You have to do something different. You
Yeah.
have to do something different because when we're in a low state and we're showing up in a negative place, we tend to kind of live there at times and let it go and then fester in it. And we don't make good choices, and it's hard to break it when we're living there.
Can I ask a question? So, when
No,
you
you
let
cannot.
something
No
marinate,
questions allowed.
when you let something marinate 5 minutes or all day, what is it a stronger flavor? Probably when you've let it marinate all day, right? So, when you are in that lower state, if you marinate on it, if you call that friend a bitch about it, if stay in that limiting, just under the limiting umbrella of emotions and, don't pull in gratitude or don't pull in that type of stuff, you're marinating on that all day. There was some study where I forget the details, but they basically had you do one mental exercise all day and then one mental exercise just 5 minutes before you fall asleep. And the whole point of the study was what you do right before you fall asleep. Even if you spend all day affirming the opposite, you're going to marinate more on what you focus on right before you fall asleep. And that's
Mm,
playing around with kind of what your brain focuses on when you rest, but it's the same idea. You get to pick what you marinate on. Bad stuff's going to happen. It's going to pop up, but you don't need to add that into your recipe and keep marinating it, so just take it for what it is. Be aware, don't judge, and just look at it for what it is instead of getting caught up in that because it's a trap. So
that
it is
marinating
meant
is
to be a lesson, but it's not meant to be a trap.
that marinating is a good metaphor. That's a really good metaphor because you're marinating in positivity or you're marinating in negativity, and the longer you marinate in it, the more it soaks in. That's what
Yes.
marinating is, right? In cooking
Mm-hmm.
terms.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
choose what you marinate. That is so good,
I was about to say,
Courtney.
man, around lunchtime, I'm hungry now. but but it's true. So we all are marinating on something. We're all have autopilot thoughts that go through our brain, but is that us showing up the way we want to? So how do you show up, Ricardo? How are you
Man,
showing up?
it depends on the day. Actually, I'm not even gonna give it that much. It depends on the moment. Sometimes I show up in a great mood. Sometimes I show up and I am, oh yeah, let's go. And then sometimes I'm like, man, F this, we're gonna knock this out. No ifs, ands, or buts, let's go.
Yeah.
So I have different little modes. And then sometimes I'm just like, let's just kick my feet up and relax. And yep, oh yeah, yep, I gotta go do this, this, and that, but it's not happening today.
Mhm. Hey, that's allowed.
It's just not going to happen today. And I know it. And I acknowledge it. And I know myself enough that if it's important enough, it'll get done. But sometimes there's things that I can put off and I'm not going to worry about it. I refuse to stress about it. And I just choose to relax.
Yes. I
I
love
choose
that.
to relax. So it just depends on the day, on the moment, on the moment. I'm not going to say the day because it can change from moment to moment. Right? I'll
Mm-hmm.
have a moment where I'm just gonna just chill and be flowing, and whatever happens, happens. And then I'm gonna have a moment where I'm the drill sergeant with myself and be like, okay, this has to happen today. Boom, 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 boom.
Hashtag relentless Ricardo.
Yeah,
Yes.
it has to happen today. And then I just push it. We talk a lot about the square peg and the round hole. Sometimes I'm that just like it's gonna go in no matter what, and I force it in there. And then sometimes I'm like, I ain't got time for none of this. I'm just gonna let it go and move on.
Yeah.
So it just depends. What about you,
Yeah.
Courtney? How do you show up for yourself? How do you show up the majority of the time?
Right now in my life, authentically. And
Ooh,
no matter what that costs me or compromises on my past story with myself. I just show up as me because I'm learning the very deep core lesson that, we always hear it, what happened is meant to happen, it will. There's a very deep level to that. So, just being authentic. So whether that's a happy moment, a sad moment, a financial moment, a sales moment, like I'm just authentically me. And it's also paying off because I'm learning new sides of myself, but I'm also discovering a new personality in my work that is working out. So I'm kind of finding my niche. And yeah, just authentically. I think one thing, I don't feel like doing stuff a lot, like a lot. I'm going to be honest. But if I can get myself there, well, one, I do think it's healthy to ask yourself, should this be a priority? Like, you're not meant to do everything you should do, okay? In my opinion. But I think it's a discernment process. I was trying to think of the word Michelle uses, discernment as to what should and should not be on your plate. But I think if it's something you want on your plate, something that is a priority, even if you don't feel like doing it sometimes, if I can just get myself there, that will come. Or like exercising. Yeah, don't want to wake up and work out. No.
No.
But 10 minutes in, 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I'm really happy I did this. Have you ever got through a workout and regretted it? Probably not. But maybe at the beginning of every workout, you're not, okay, let's put on our running shoes, guys. Let's go. No, that's not what happens. And so a few years ago, probably, I don't know if this was at a meeting, but it kind of hit me. Motivation comes after the action. Motivation doesn't come first. That's a trick. First, you need to show up, and then you will get whatever you need, the next step pointed out to you, or the next sign, or the next skill, or the next lead, or whatever. But if you can show up as authentically you, the motivation will come if it's meant to be. If it drains you, you need to take awareness of that and just figure it out. Why does it drain you? Should this be on your plate? Yes, no. So just release the judgment and just kind of watch your life from a very practical standpoint. But I do want to point that out, and exercising the best example, because often we aren't motivated at first, but if we can just show up, we'll be so happy we did it. We went to the event. We, took the class, whatever.
You just have to get into the arena.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then before the battle even starts, you just have to get into the arena. But I do agree with you. I think it's an interesting concept that you say that motivation shows up after, because if it drains you through the whole process, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If it drains you through the whole process, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
From beginning to end.
And that's a great tip, just to kind of take inventory on your life. Make a list of everything you do. Does this drain you? Does this fill you up? That's all. Just
wait a minute, Courtney Carr. Wait a minute. Back it up. Okay. Wait a second. Are you saying it's that simple?
It is simple. It's not easy. It is a very simple formula to live like that. I mean, you're never going to stop being tested. We're humans. So we signed up for this adventure. But yeah, if you can get in the habit of, okay, first is initial action, motivation will come. You're building and stacking that. And so next time you have a thought and you're like, I don't want to get out of bed and work out, your body's going to be like, let's go. Like, no question. It's becoming a habit. So it's a muscle. Tony talks a lot about this. He jumps into his, I forget how many degree pool, but, he quotes when he talks about his cold plunge in the morning, I don't negotiate with my mind. I tell my mind what the body does. Well, he's been stacking that for 40, 50 years intently. And that is illustrating exactly what we're talking about. So it's not always saying you're going to have warm fuzzies when you think about jumping into the cold pool. But after you do it, and after you can train your brain to control your body and your state like that, and just be like, no, we're doing it. We're not negotiating here. That will change your entire life.
Yep.
Entire life.
Yep. It's about doing it when you don't feel like it. Yep. You have to do it when you don't feel like it. Not negotiating with your mind. And I don't feel like it, suck it up, and you do it anyways
Hmm.
because you know it has to be done and you need to do it because in the long run, you're going to benefit from it more than you would not doing it.
Yeah. And most of the time, we spend a lot more time complaining in our head to ourselves about how we don't want to do it than the actual task would take. So if you do struggle with that, like me, maybe you just be like, okay, I could spend the next 10 minutes complaining to myself about how I don't want to do it, or I can spend 2 minutes doing it.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
What's worth my
Oh,
energy?
yeah. You know what, man? I'll admit this. We have that struggle with Sebastian in the morning sometimes. He'd rather complain about it for 10 minutes than just get it done in three. And it's like, dude. And then, if you know what, here's the thing with me personally, if I don't do it, then I end up regretting not doing it for a day or two instead of
Mm.
just doing it anyways.
Okay, so that's a great question. What is it mentally costing you to not show up in the moment?
Ooh, that's good.
Or regret, anxiety. So anxiety is worried about things in the future. Regret is worrying about how you handled things in the past. So you're not where your feet are, Michelle Martini, but you control that. You can learn to control that.
You can. What's it costing you? What's it costing you? Not taking the time to getting it done, pushing forward and doing it anyways, even when you don't feel like it. What's that costing you? How does that make you show up five 5 minutes from the time you make that decision? Or the next day? How do you show up the next day when you don't keep your word to yourself and respect the self integrity?
Well, science will tell us you have lessened your self esteem or
Ooh,
confidence when you do that. Because confidence is technically built, and I believe self esteem is built by keeping promises to yourself. So, and then that extends to keeping promises to other people, etc. But yeah, that's a lot. That's a big source of all kinds of mental issues in a lot of people we know. But I mean, just humans, period, is just not acting, and then it costs you 3 days of anxiety. Well, it's like a hangover. I like that
ooh,
metaphor. It's like a hangover. You didn't actually do it, but you get hungover for it. Good job.
yeah.
It's
It's
just not a
that
successful formula.
it's a mental hangover, if you will.
Yeah.
Man, that's that's a beating, man.
Yeah.
That hangover is a beating, I have to say. So comment below. Let us know what you think. Join the discussion. How are you showing up? How do you need to show up? And what we just now talked about, what's it costing you? What's it costing you? Maybe if you don't show up, it doesn't cost you very much in some cases, and that's okay. That's a negligible write off.
Hmm.
And in some cases, it might cost you a lot more.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And I think let's touch back on how it affects how you show up for other people. So if you already are not at 100% capacity, you're already dreading going to this event and you still show up, like people can feel that. People can feel your energy. Energy is contagious, whether it's negative or positive. A smile's contagious. It's energy. It's just all an energy exchange. And so if you kind of take a step back to, okay, you hate your job and you show up every day to work hating your job, like, are they going to give you leads? Are they going to send you ideas to grow on? Things like that. So how you show up can just build walls in between you and other people. Uh, so I mean that fully, like every aspect of our life, right? But I think let's see how do you show up for others, Ricardo?
I show up the best way that I can in that moment. I show up because again, it comes in waves. Sometimes I'm like, okay, do 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 do. But one thing I used to really have a struggle with was showing up how others expected me to show up.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I struggled with that. So I felt like I had to fake it, right? Because they expected Ricardo to show up a certain way. And I knew that they did. So I had to kind of get myself there and make myself do it anyways. and that's not good. That's not good. But I've learned over the years that the people who are going to give you grace and understand that, oh, Ricardo's having an off day or an off moment. See, I'm still working on it instead of using a whole day, because one moment does not define your whole day,
Thank you
right?
for pointing that out. That's
So I'm
good to
still
know.
working on that. You notice I keep on saying day when in fact it's a moment.
Mhm.
However, just because Ricardo's having a bad moment doesn't mean he's having a bad day, and it doesn't define him as a person.
Right.
I'm hanging out with people and spending more time with people who respect that and appreciate that and understand that. And that in turn makes me more accepting and appreciative of people when they have bad moments.
Mhm.
Now, I still get frustrated when people refuse to live up to their full potential and are slacking off and not doing the best that they can. That still just, it chaps my butt. It just does. Because I see potential in people and I just like, dude, come on. I know what you're capable of doing. You need to get off your butt and do it, because I believe in you, but I can't believe in you enough for you to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like, see, there I go. There I go. Ricardo's having the moment right here in real time.
Yep. As I
And
say, that was the best example you could have.
so right there, did you see it? Did you see where I started having my
Yeah.
moment? But it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that doesn't define me. I understand that. And I know you guys know that I have good intentions, but at the end of the day, I can't want it more than the other person. Just like,
Yep.
I can't. I can't. And I used to do that so much. I used to do that all the time. And it was such a hard lesson for me to get, that I can't want it more for other people than they want it for themselves. But that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I still don't fall into that from time to time. But it's just for a moment. And then I
Mhm.
have to bring myself back. And in most cases, it's not on our live video or our podcast. But it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. I'm
That's
getting comfortable with it, and people want unique and authentic, and this is me being authentic,
I
right?
think so Ricardo has a new program. Am I allowed to say the name of it? It's called the Get Shit Done program. And so I'm one of the folks in it, and I couldn't miss his first official program, right? You you thought that it frustrates you when you see people just sitting there like a bump on the log, but they're capable and have everything they need to make great things happen. And that is one of the most frustrating things I imagine to Ricardo. But it's if you come to him and are like, look, this is my dream. And then 5 years later, you're still like, hey, this is my dream, but you haven't done anything to it. That's what we're talking about here, right? And so
That
what he
is.
did is he observed, he did judge a little bit. He was judging himself too just a second ago. But like he took into account, like, why do I feel this way about other people? And he created a program that there's, a handful of folks on it that I don't know. I'm just really excited to see how this plays out. But you did something with that thought. You didn't just sit there like, okay, I'm just going to hate all these people in these groups who are just not like doing anything for their goals at all. You know, and you did something with it, and
Yeah.
you're still not going to help the masses. You're still going to get annoyed when you see somebody telling you about something for the fifth year in a row and they haven't lifted one finger towards it, but it's
It's more frustration than annoyance. I will say that, because it's like, come on, come
it
on,
also plays into your legacy,
come
in
on,
my
dude.
opinion.
Let's go. Come on. Let's do something about it. And it's
Yeah.
not my place to push them if they don't ask to be pushed. That's why I created this program for people to sign up who actually want to be pushed. So
Yes.
there.
And I love it because the idea is you say what you want to do. It's not
Correct.
any, nobody else has any rules. Like you make up your own rule and then you're just expected to do that. That's
Correct.
all.
Because it's
So
success on
you're
your own
talking about
terms.
simple.
Yeah.
That's a pretty simple one.
And I told Jesse on day one, someone got kicked out, because that's the rule. If you don't show up, you get kicked out.
Yeah.
And we lost one person on day one, because that was the rule. We're not gonna keep, like, you're not gonna keep coming in and out of this program. You don't show up, bye bye.
Yep. Yep.
Like,
And that's totally okay because that is Ricardo's authentic truth. So
yep,
maybe one day somebody will have a problem with those rules, but that's an example of that person probably should look in the eye why they're not achieving their goals. So
and
it's
or
just,
how they're showing up.
mhm. So whether you get frustrated about others or they get frustrated about you, it just never hurts to look at how you're showing up
Correct.
and what you can do better. And if it's something that drains you every time, Even if you show up, you don't get motivated, motivation doesn't hit, it's not serving your better good, let it go. You have my permission. Like, let it go.
There you go. Woo, man. Okay.
Okay.
Ricardo's got to breathe, and I think we're pretty much done.
I put my soapbox up.
I got my soapbox up too. I got a little off the rails, but that's okay. It's okay. It is what it is, and we're live. Whatever comes out, this is unscripted, unpracticed, and unrehearsed. So, thank you so much for joining us for this episode, and we invite you to take a look on how you're showing up and what's happening in your life. Are you showing up for how are you showing up for yourself? How you're showing up for others? And remember to subscribe to the podcast. You can visit forceforgrowth.com.
Yep.
Have a great day, everybody, and we'll be
Thank you,
back
guys.
on Friday. Bye.